All right, so welcome back to the NFT Talks podcast. I'm here with a guest who is a friend of mine. We've been in contact for a decent amount of time. Happy to have him on. I'd introduce you as the NFT creator, the musician, the finger drummer, the wrestler, the guitar playing, outspoken Godcloud, a man of many trades. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to have you on. How have you been? First of all, it's been. I know the NFT space. We always say that even though it seems like a day seems like a week and a week seems like a month. So I know you've been in it for a good while. So how's things been over the whole period of time since you've been in the space?
For my whole arc, I feel like has been pretty good. You know, I feel like I'm still going up. I feel like I still got a ways to go as well. You know, so I'm doing great, man. Having a great time in the space, loving it.
Yeah, me and you first connected. First come across yourself. I've seen you as very active on the clubhouses, involved with a lot of different projects, bringing people together. The connector. How did that all come about? Because like I said, I always like to start from the beginning. So, because I feel like it's always good for people to hear people's perspective before they enter the space, so they can maybe connect on some type of level with yourself and think, okay, well, if you've done it, I can do it, kind of thing. So, introduce yourself to the audience so they can get a bit of background and then tell your story of how you actually got into the space.
Yeah, good question. So I was working in a marketing company with some folks before, even before Clubhouse, anything like that. We were trying to figure out the next move with some things. Jumped on Clubhouse. I'm like, hey guys, we got to get everybody on here. Like, there's something cooking on Clubhouse. Everybody, let's go, And that was, for me, I got on Clubhouse on the 27th of December of 2020. Okay. Yeah. So right before the new year, right? Mm-hmm. I'm on there and meeting all these people. I'm like, wow, damn, everybody really is here, Then all of a sudden I get word of, hey, this guy's in this room talking about something. It's crazy. It's going to be the future. You guys need to come in here. So me and my squad, we jump into this room. This guy's talking all this stuff, talking about NFTs. And I'm like, this sounds like a scam. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't like it. Like, I got to buy crypto. I'm like, I don't know. This sounds kind of weird. I got to buy crypto to buy a painting from you. Like, I don't know. So, I really wasn't feeling it at the time, but that room and my crew at that time would go on to become NFT tips, And
okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And now I'm on the outside. I'm looking. I'm like, man. I'm like that. Watching the group grow, and I was like, shit. I I'm like, I'm not about to let this, fly past me. So let me dig my heels in. I was like, let me do some research. And I'm like,
before you go, let me cut. Yeah, because I think anybody that hasn't been in this, only entering the space, I want to point out the significance of Clubhouse at that time, and especially I didn't know this. Obviously, I was aware of NFT tips. I seen that was probably the room to be in, where everyone was kind of active and talking about NFTs and different high-profile individuals coming into the room and whatnot. So, how did that come about? That's something that I didn't actually know myself. Even though I've been speaking to you, I didn't know that you and I'm assuming there was a few other guys who actually created that.
So it was Alex Mazai, I think his name. He was the guy who was in there talking about all this stuff, right? Yeah. And another cat by the name of Lobo.
Yeah, I know Lobo, man.
Yeah, Lobo.
yeah.
So it was Lobo. Lobo came and told me, Glassy, and Kaz to come into this room. Mm-hmm. We go into the room, and I'm like, I'm super skeptical. I'm like, I don't know about this. So I split. I was like, y'all got it. I'm like, I don't get it. Y'all got it, And I come back a week later, they're all moderators and everything, and I'm like, okay, and I'm seeing these celebrities popping in here. And that's the thing too. It wasn't like the celebrities were just coming in being like, hey, I'm a celebrity. I'm in charge here or whatever. They were coming in trying to learn. And
Mm.
I'm, man, like I was just working with these people. Now these celebrities are coming to them on like a peer level, like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, okay, there's something cooking here. And yeah, you want to talk about the significance of Clubhouse back then. That's where, you know, a lot of it really started. That's where the seed was planted for it to blossom into the big thing that it is in the mainstream right now. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I'd agree, man. Like this, I feel the way the spread happened and the early adopters were the people that have kind of, I mean, guess there was people before Clubhouse clearly, but I mean, that was a new buzz and everyone was on Clubhouse at the time and everyone was talking about it. And that was the only place I could actually find information that people actually knew what they were talking about. Because even on YouTube at that time, you couldn't even find a lot of information, of valid information. So I thought that Clubhouse was the only spot that you can go and think, okay, then these people know what they're talking about. At least I can learn a lot.
Right. And you know what it was too? Like I went and just started studying. Like I tried to go on YouTube to find stuff, and I still have some of my notebooks like around my studio where I would be like, you know, writing stuff down from taking notes, and I'm like, wait a minute, this one's saying something different. It'd kind of always be like a dead end in the notes.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're BSing right now. Like they don't really know, you know what I mean? So that's when I just started reading. I looked up the Ethereum virtual machine, yellow paper. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. This is how smart contracts work. This is what the blockchain, I'm like, oh, I got it. So at that point too, you know, a lot of people were complaining that they weren't really able to get, you know, word in because the NFT rooms were just getting too big. A lot of people were saying they couldn't get a word in. A lot of people were saying the conversation was going over their head. And that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to start doing my own rooms. I started doing smaller basics rooms, just helping people set up their wallets, like really like, you know, intensely focused on getting people started, making sure that people left with a wallet and the knowledge of how to create their first NFT, you know, for free. And I was using the platform Mintable at the time because they had the gasless feature, right?
Yeah.
So did that, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, helped out some people who would later go on to become, you know, mega stars in the space. And I was, you know, still really proud of that. And
Come on, tell me, share some of the names.
yeah, so Sarah Script, she's one of the people who came through to our basis where she sold her first NFT in my basis room to Michael Rutledge. It was wild, man. And you know, you're seeing stuff like that happen, and you see where she's at now. It's crazy, you know. And to think that, you know, and it's like I saw her down in NFT NYC, you know, and it was like, yo, like, hey, what's going on? And just, you know, like cool that happened and everything. That was a big thing for me too, you know, like to be able to say that you help somebody who has gone on to become somebody. It's just dope to see the impact that somebody can have, just helping somebody set up a wallet, you know, like you never know.
But you know what, if you didn't help them like that they may have not done it like that, because I think that's the kind of the onboarding part is so important. It's off-putting for people. They get scared by crypto or having to do all these stuff around transferring their money into crypto and putting the wallets and getting the NFT, not sure what's happening and all that minting stage. I think when people understand that and they're comfortable with it, then it's a bit more flowing for people to go, okay, then let me buy an NFT. But there's so many things that are obstructing people from actually entering the space. So like having that so early, like enabling people to do that, I think that was great, man. So onboarding people to the community.
Yeah, man. And that, you know, led to other things. Like I was doing that and I ended up, the guy who actually invited me on the Clubhouse, his name's Abi. He was running this club on there called the 808 Wave, right? They were a music, you know, music tech club, whatever. And he's like, hey, dude, see what you're doing. Do you want to do that on our platform? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do that on our platform. You know what I mean? They had a really big following at that time, you know, and I was able to basically be like the music NFT guy over there, because I think in that point too, I was starting to sell my finger drumming NFTs, which were the first of their kind, and like, you know, the producer culture. So I had that like little like claim to fame, whatnot. And yeah, so once Avi gave me that platform, we just ran with it, you know, and we were, you know, then that at that point we were competing with NFT tips on who was having the biggest rooms for the week, and we did a marathon room, 24 hours, had over 66,000 people come through this room, man, in 24 hours, man. It was wild. We had a ton of celebrities, Swizz Beats, Game, MC Hammer, you name it, you know, and that got us on the map there. And that's when, you know, I just kept pushing. And through that is how I ended up getting the gig with George Lopez. So onboarding to that, like, it all worked, you know what I'm saying? It was a wild ride.
Did you have a strategy? Did you think, what was your thoughts? Okay, then cool. You obviously, you've got a background in music. You've done marketing, you do marketing already. Did you have a strategy and think, okay, this is the NFT space, this is what I want to do? Or was it a case of you were just in the space, and then as you researched and you connected, you kind of and understood, you seen the opportunities, and then you went down that route?
Little bit of I always have this strategy of, you know, just being consistent and being, you know, just uniquely like myself, you know what I'm saying? And that goes back to my music stuff. Like, for example, even before I jumped into the marketing company with you know, the other folks and everything, I was like, okay, I want to push my sound design, I want to push my music, so I'm going to put out a wild finger drumming video every day. I'm going to be super consistent. I'm going to keep banging on the doors of the you know, the hardware companies, of the software companies, you know. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay for any articles, nothing like that. I'm just going to be consistent and put out some wild content. And that worked. That worked in Web 2, you know. Like, I got the attention of Reason, who's with a big software company that I use. I got the attention of Akai, that's the hardware company that I use, you know, and got all these other publications as well. So I'm like, okay, that's working here. So when I got into Web 3, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show up and I'm going to teach people how to do these wallets. I'm going to make sure I'm doing that every day, you know. And that was just my plan. And I'm like, I'm going to see what this consistency gets me. I'm going to see what being consistent, being honest, I'm going to see what that gets me. And it, you know, and I was rewarded greatly for it. You know what I mean? So that was my strategy. And honestly, like, I'll be honest, I did not see, you know, these big opportunities coming. I didn't see them coming.
Well, I believe you, because how could you? I mean, like, I guess if you come in the space now, you could kind of have an idea like what could possibly happen. But thinking that back then, there was an idea, there was a concept, there was a few PFP projects, there was PFP project dropping maybe 2, 3 a week, maybe if that. There wasn't like you could literally think, okay, then what's dropping this week? You could set yourself up and try and get an NFT. Now there's like there's hundreds dropping daily, like, so. And there was hardly, I mean, as far as I know, unless you correct me if I'm wrong, there wasn't that many. There weren't high profile celebrities and the marketing behind it pushing it. I know that obviously celebrities beforehand had kind of entered the space and done 1 or 2 things, but there wasn't a lot of success because people didn't know about it. But at this point, everything was new and everything was fast paced, and things are picking up, and the interest was picking up at fast pace. Like, I'm still amazed till today, like how much growth some of these projects and the things that they've done. I've never seen it in my lifetime. So, and the case that, and then like you said, the peer to peer where celebrities are humbled and coming in to the space and having to speak to people and learn rather than having that status. Everybody was on ground level, and if you wanted to kind of leverage, you had to speak and connect and be open to speak. Doesn't matter what background you're on. If you know what you're talking about, I want to speak to you. You know, right. So that's what I feel. That's very special. That I don't think you get that, and I think I always say this is the golden era. This ain't gonna be like this forever. But at this point, this is a chance for you to kind of leverage and connect to people like that.
No, seriously, yeah, man. And like how I got the George gig was his partner Randy Levy, who
Mhm.
is also the founder of agency NFT.io. He booked one of my, and back then I was only charging like $50 an hour for my consults, and he books a consult. And he's like, hey, so what can you help me with? And I'm like, you tell me how you're trying to position your business within the NFT space, and we'll go from there, and I'll help you
Yeah.
out with navigating that. I'm like, I'll give you some ideas within the hour, give you some connections, we'll figure it out from there.
Mhm.
He's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, working with George Lopez, who want to do his first NFT project, and I'm like, what? I'm, I'm like, man, you could have led with that,
Mhm.
So, we ended up talking for like 2 hours and everything, and about what, ideas, this and that, da, da, da. And I'm like, all right, cool. So, like, we need to get an artist, we need to get this, we need to get that. Well, let's go. And basically, he gave me the opportunity to deliver on those things.
Mhm.
And, with relying on the space, I was able to deliver,
Mhm.
and like I got Sabet to work on it too. And Sabet was already a name before NFTs, and he just came in here and is just taking no prisoners. And I messaged him just like, hey man, you want to get on this project with George Lopez? And a lot of people I'm asking, they're like, dude, this sounds like a scam, no way, get out of my inbox. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, listen man, if I'm gonna try to scam you, like, I'm not about to just, like, what do you think? Hit you with the George Lopez 1-2? Like, no, that's not a thing. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. But Sabet ended up saying yes. He was already out in LA. I'm in New York. So,
Mhm.
from New York, like from my little studio
Mhm.
in Rochester, New York, I'm on my phone. I'm calling, I'm talking to Sabet. I'm calling George's team, being like, hey, I got this guy. He can come down and connect with them. And then they ended up all meeting, and they're sending me the pictures from the meeting, and I'm like, wow, like, I'm like,
Crazy.
look at what I just helped put together. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at what I just did from my phone with a cracked screen. Just like sitting here in front of my music equipment, like not even knowing what was even gonna come from that, but I was just so proud of myself that I was able to, that they gave me the opportunity to do that. And I did it. And I'm like, wow, okay, cool. This is crazy. This NFT stuff is life changing. I'm like, this is something else. Like, this is wild.
Mhm.
And the project came together. We sold it out. We had the biggest room on Clubhouse that year. And, that was my first, and I did the soundtrack for it as well. I worked with Oli, who's an amazing singer. She's
Mhm.
working with Somnium Space now. She also recorded with Blau on his big release and
Wow.
everything. So she sang on the track that I produced, and that was my first time on vinyl. And we and man, we sold a record for $750, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just wild to me. I've never seen
Yeah.
anything like that,
You,
and
obviously you've been into music, yeah. Obviously you've got a background in music.
yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not aware how successful your career has been in music anyway. But how has it been as successful as in regards to the stuff you're doing now in the NFT space with your music to what you've been doing in real life?
Okay, so in my whole, like, I'm 35, man.
Yeah,
In my
yeah.
whole like life, like what I've done this past year is more than like everything that I've ever done. And I've done some pretty cool things, like
Mm.
I've been in magazines, I've played in some well-known bands, worked with some well-known artists and all that stuff. But you know, we a lot of us musicians, we talk about this all the time, like, dude, like royalties, it's a joke, man. It's like getting
Mm.
paid peanuts, man. Like Spotify streams, bruh. Like, no, like you're not surviving off of that. Like, how I was able to support myself was doing sound design, doing session work. Like, oh, let me play guitar. I'm like, oh, let me make a beat for you. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, you make more money doing that than waiting for excuse me, waiting for royalties off of making like an album, you know what I'm saying? So the growth that I've gotten in this past year has basically, you know, trumped everything I've done in my whole life, you know, in web 2, which is crazy. And yeah, man, and just from the attention that I've gotten in this space, it's allowed me to leverage more things, you know, in web 2 and in real life as well. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
So
yeah, man.
what you pointed out there that I've seen is like consistency. Anything you've done, you've been consistent at, like from what you've told me. And it seems like, okay, you didn't have that much, as much success as you had in the last year, but it's putting in that 10,000 hours in it, that you were prepared at this point at time
Right.
to deliver when the opportunity came. So nothing, I always believe nothing's done in vain. It's always a build up to where you're going to get to. And obviously you're executing on that now, and you're reaping the benefits and the rewards from all that work from before, because you're in a good place. And I think going to NFT and music, that hasn't even started yet. And you position yourself, and you've done things within the more around the art side of it. But and obviously I know you've touched on the music side, but when that starts coming into play, I think the same thing's just going to happen again with yourself. I don't know if you agree. Like, people are going to come to you and be like, "Okay, then cool. You've been doing this music thing from the start. Like, come on, like, what do we do?" and so on. Or you might be you're probably getting the calls right now.
Yeah, yeah, man. And that's the beauty of it too. You know, like in March, man, I in March I became the first ever finger drummer selling NFT. In April, I co-produced the first ever NFT music conference with 808 Wave. You know, and and I always point this out that NFT music always kind of had these ebbs and flows. Like it would go up, then it would go down, go up, then it go down. But this right now, it's really going up. It's like everybody is starting to be like, oh, NFT music, oh, NFT music, oh, NFT music, you know? And you're right, you know, I've been here, you know, I've got accolades already in this space, you know, and it's dope too, because when I actually went to LA to meet George Lopez, he had some of the guys who play with Carlos Santana were playing at his party. So I ended up befriending Andy Vargas, who's Carlos's lead singer of 22 years. And I showed him the Drummies project, and he was like, "Yo," he's like, "Whoa, this is so cool! Like, this is awesome, man!" And you know, and now he's trying to get. He's been into crypto, but he's now trying to get into NFT. So you know, it's wild when you have Carlos Santana's lead singer calling you up, being like, "Hey, dude, I'm trying to, you know, get OpenSea set up. Like, what do I do? This, do that?" Like, "Oh, like, what about my wallet?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah," you know. I'm just like, "Wow, like, what is this right now?" But yeah, him and I got something cooking. We actually have 2 projects we're working on right now. I just sent him something. He's gonna send me the vocals back any minute. Got some other stuff coming with another really big vocalist. I can't say yet. We're actually getting the NDAs all set up and everything now. But yeah, man, like, you know, just like you said, man, from the fact of me putting in the time before, you know, and getting here and getting that, you know, that boost, that turbo boost, you know, it's just got me in such a good spot, and it's got me next to some of the you know, the biggest and the brightest stars in the music space. Like, I would have never thought in a million years that I'd have these numbers in my phone, just, you know, ready to call them, like not their manager, not, you know, their assistant, but them, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's crazy. It's
a lot to digest, man. Like, but moving on, carrying on from what you just said, obviously you said you were doing the finger drumming, which is, if anyone follows you on your socials, like it's crazy. Like, I'm amazed. I wouldn't say I've ever looked and gone to search anything like that, but I think it's dope, man. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I always watch the video. So based on that, you've come out with obviously the drummies, yeah. And is that's tied into obviously the finger drumming? Tell me about that. Is that a PFP? Would you say that's a PFP project?
Yeah. What I initially did, what's out right now is kind of like I call it the prototype phase, right? Okay. I wanted to just get my stamp on it, because even back then I'm like, yo, music themed NFTs are coming. They're coming. I'm like, I want to do something. I don't draw, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not an artist, but I've got my bros are. You know what I mean? So I'm like, hey dudes, this is happening, this is coming. Let's put something together. So what I did was I had a live performance coming up on Clubhouse, and they were like, hey, you want to do an NFT drop for this? And I'm like, sure, like I do, but like let me see what I can cook up. And me and my bros cooked up the drummies, the first phase, you know, and I was like, all right, so these ones are going, I'm just gonna make 16 of these because there's 16 pads on the drum machines, and I'm gonna attach a demo for the album that I'm working on with it, and also a sample pack. So other producers, they can get it, they can make their own songs, you know, stuff with it as well. So yeah, man, I didn't know how it was gonna go. I didn't know how people were going to respond to it. But you know, I sold all 16 of them out. Like somebody bought like 4 of them, you know, and I started them pretty moderately priced at 73 bucks. That I do the 7 and the 3 a lot because of G and C. It's the 7th letter and the 3rd letter, so I use 7 and 3 a lot and stuff. And yeah, man. And now I think that the floor, they're at like 0.15 or something like that.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, man. And I'm like, I just didn't see that coming, you know, like you can't, people are like, oh, well, can I get one? I'm like, yeah, but they're a lot right now. Like they're like $500 to get, you know, a drummy prototype, you know, but and also part of the utility is that I promised, I was like, hey, when I do the bigger drop, you know,
whitelist,
you'll be able to, you'll get the whitelist spot for it, you know, but now that, you know, that Andy and I are going to work on that. And, you know, potentially, you know, the big guy too, Mr. Santana, you know, now it's kind of like, okay, we got to rearrange a few things, and we have to, you know, it's got, you know, we gotta go back to the drawing board on a few things which we're doing. And I can't wait to, you know, unveil some of this stuff. It's gonna be really wild. But yeah, man, the drummies were really cool when I did that. That was my first like project that sold out. That was just, you know, something that was just for my brain and everything, that I didn't have, you know, like a big celebrity tied to it or something or other. You know, it was just something that I cooked up, I came out with. And you know, there are other music projects that are coming out that are like kind of similar, a little close, you know what I mean?
I think we get that in the NFT space. There's especially when it comes to the PFPs, like I've seen you tweet about it and in Instagram about all the 8 projects. Like,
yeah,
a lot of stop doing 8 projects. Like they're all the same to a certain extent. You only can repeat things over and over again. You got to stop at some point in it. So, but you know, that's the NFT space, the early talk at this point. But is there anything? Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you think about the Bored Apes with Universal starting the band? What do you think about that? First of all,
okay. I mean, it was bound to happen. Like I knew it was, you know, when I saw them like exploding, and you know, I'll be straight, dude. I thought they were racist in the beginning. I'm like, dude,
the Bored Apes. Yeah, I see that going around. I do see that going around. Yeah. Okay, go on. Explain. I mean, you might as well say, because if you got your reasons, why did you think they were racist at the beginning?
Well, I mean, you know, just because, you know, growing up in America, that's something that, you know, you like, people call you an ape, they call you a monkey, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And it, you know, you become sensitive to these things, you know, like they trigger you, you know what I mean? Like I remember when I was a kid, I wouldn't want to play monkey in the middle, you know, because I'm like, like,
we can laugh about it now, but you know, it's a deeper rooted thing. So I can understand why, if that was something that was a trigger or said to you when you're younger as abuse.
Yeah,
so I can understand that. Yeah.
So now, you know, now that I'm older, it's like I see that, and especially with the NFT space not being as inclusive as they like to pitch it as being, you know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of us here. Let's be straight.
There's not a lot. It's dominated by, at the moment, as what I've seen, especially, and this may be down to because it's art driven at this point too. don't know, like I'm saying, but from what I've seen, even like in real life events and the people heading the projects, from what I can see, it's dominated by white males. That would you, yeah, would you say that? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I see a lot of white and Asian males like
and okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
across the board. You know what I mean? And it's it's hard for Black people to be in the space and not be like, oh, you're the Black artist, you know, oh, you do the Black stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't just, you know, be in the NFT space and just do
Stuff.
art. It's like, oh, like, hey, you know, it's some like we got a Black exhibit coming up. You want to get in here? You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you know, like while I get it, I appreciate it. I appreciate the, you know, sentiment and the attempt of inclusion, but you know, we just want to do stuff. You know, like we don't want to have everything we do be like, oh, this is Black. You know what I'm saying? So like when I make music, I don't say like, oh, I make Black music. Like I just make music. Like I just do stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I approach it. But yeah, again, when I saw, you know, the Bored Apes come out, I was like, huh, you know, kind of like taken aback. Like,
do you still think it is a racist project then? I mean, that's just being honest. Do you still think it is, or you think, okay, then based on what you've seen over the period of time, I mean, what's if it or maybe your perspective's changed? Like,
well, all right, I don't think that they, and again, I don't know these people. I don't think that they came out and were like, you know, trying to be like, you know, malicious or anything like that. But I just can't have my PFP be an ape. I can't
okay, fair
put
enough.
that mask on. You feel me? I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and when you start adding the like, you know, the more like Afrocentric traits to them too, you know, like hip hop style clothing and
Well,
like,
this is it. Like you're saying that, but then what's happening now? It is hip hop culture is adopting it. Like you got all the rappers, the celebrities. That culture is buying into the ape. So was it more of a marketing scheme, or was it meant to be? Like I'm saying, I'm just putting out questions. Like I didn't really, when I first seen it, I didn't think personally, I didn't think it was racist, but that wasn't. I didn't have that actual ape attached to when I racist experience. So it's not to say, but I've also seen other people say it. That's the reason I asked you the question. Like you're not the only person that said that. So I'm open to hear all different perspectives and hear a reason why, because there may be something I'm missing. And if there is, it needs to be said and not attack on the project, but people just need to be aware of things. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, totally. I hear you, man. And you know, like if you look at like how I don't know if you've ever seen like the little Sambo statues before. If you haven't, look those up. Look up what a Sambo is. Look that up.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just the way that it's these little things that are in, you know, like within the visual aspects of a lot of these ape projects. You know,
I think I know what you're talking about. It's like the kind of black face,
with
the sing, yeah, and they do the yes, I've seen them. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, now you say yeah.
Then that really reminded me of that, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, okay, you know, like I saw it. I remember when I first like I turned on like Twitter and I saw it, and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, what's happening? And I'm like, you know, and I just was like, yo, this is. I'm like, I can't be the only one who's looking at this like, yo, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And you know, behold, I wasn't the only one. Even back then, you know, a lot of us were like, we would be in these ape rooms, you know, or we'd be in a room and a lot of people would come in and they would start acting like monkeys. And a lot of us Black NFT folks, we would leave. We just dip. Like we just be like, well, hey, I'm like, something.
Wow.
This is, you know, setting up a situation.
Yeah,
like, this is how it starts, you know, just from what I've been around, you know, and growing up, I grew up in, I went to like a mostly white school, you know, like it was probably like out of the whole school, it was probably like maybe 20, 30 of us Black kids in this one particular school, you know, and that would be a thing. The kids would like, some of the white kids would walk past us and make monkey noises.
Maybe I feel like maybe something should have been said then potentially, but I guess they couldn't change the whole project. A bit too late to kind of change the whole project, because what I did see that there was a Bored Ape with, I can't remember what it was. It was a Japanese logo on there. I can't remember exactly what it was. So anyone that's listening, if you know what it is, put it in the comments below. But it was a racist. I think it was something offensive to a culture within Japan. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was raised and it was changed. The NFT was taken from the collector, and they redone it and sent it back to the collector with the amended version.
Okay.
So that actually happened. And they announced it in the Discord and whatnot. So, like I said, the whole project is Ape. So you brought it up for basically saying to shut down the project. That isn't going to happen. But
right,
like I've also seen that not in defense, but I've just seen that. So it's interesting to hear different perspectives.
And I think too, like a lot of us were just like, we didn't think that, we could get through to anybody with it because how much it was growing. And, I know a lot of Black people who have them, and I'm not about I'm not about to be like, hey, dude, that thing that you have that's worth like over $250,000, it offends me. Get rid of it. Because they're going to be like, are you crazy? No, look at all this money that it's potentially worth. And, even Gunna, the rapper, he's got one tattooed on him now. It's a flex.
Yeah. Crazy. I didn't see that. That's crazy.
He got it tattooed on his leg or his arm or something like that. And it's like, all right, when stuff starts getting to that point, there's nothing you can say or do, and that's why I just would choose not to support it or just like whatever, and there have been other projects like Ape projects that have come out that I've seen. I'm like, okay, this doesn't have certain traits to it, like there's the soda apes, there's the caked apes. They're like super colorful, like pastel colors. They look like trippy, they look weird. And even the mutant apes, even like how those look, I'm like, okay, these are just crazy things. But the other ones, they just, they had some features to them that were just like triggering to me, and I just could never really get with it. So going back to the original question,
you know what? I'm glad, but it's important. I'm happy. I want the podcast to be people to be able to discuss things like this. Like, I've never heard anyone discuss it in no Clubhouse room. I've just seen it on maybe like a tweet. But if people feel like this, then it needs, even if it's a case nothing can be changed, doesn't mean it can't be discussed. So keep that in mind for future projects. If anything is offensive, what do people do about it? Whether it's offensive to Black people, Asian people, women, what's going to be done about it? Because people can just create PFP projects out of nothing and mint them. And where's that's something that needs to be considered? Where's the, let's say, regulations, but where's the kind of what happens if it is like that? If somebody releases a project and it's just out racist and people support it, then what?
Right, exactly. But I, again, like I think that with our community being, so heavy on the like decentralization aspect of all this, it's up to us to kind of provide the checks and balances. Like there was Nazi punks early on.
I think I did see that. And everyone, I think that was Clubhouse times, wasn't it? I think there was people, going on about. I do remember seeing that. Yeah.
Right. So now, let's just say like, Nazi punks comes out and, like not saying that this happened, but like if NFTS.tips was like, hey, like, yo, here's a Nazi punk room. Like, yeah, it's right. That's a problem. But that type of stuff, it wouldn't get that far. You know what I mean? Like people would be like, yo, like, shut this down. Like, I think, we talk about it, we're like, yo, that's crazy. What the hell? Who's doing that? And then we block them out. The community as a whole will ignore them and ignore that, like, I don't think anybody, just because we can trace everything, like, I don't think any of my friends have been Nazi punk in their life.
Hopefully. Well, yeah, but, I mean, I guess that's the way in it. Like that's the way it needs to be at the moment as it stands. It's gonna be interesting as it grows. I guess we can't monitor everything, but like yeah, across the board, hopefully there is people putting out good things and not in that way. But at the end of the day, humans are humans and they will do what they do. People tweet nasty stuff, people put stuff in it. So it will happen eventually, some way, some shape or form. It's just a way if we can, you know, block it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You know, it's just like, hey, like I don't give my bandwidth to stuff I don't agree with. Like
Yeah.
people I don't, particularly see eye to eye with, I just don't follow them. It's simple as that. You know what I mean? Like, when I was younger, I used to be like, oh, I'd be like, just like chatting back at people, arguing with folks. And I'm like, yo, man, like if somebody disagrees with me or they don't like something that I'm doing, I'm like, hey, man, like I really appreciate you giving me the social media engagement. You're bumping up my algorithm. Thank you. I'm not about to fight with you. Like I'm grown. Like I got a baby now. Like I'm trying to work. Like I'm a professional. You know what I'm saying? So, if I don't support something, it's not getting my bandwidth. I'm not letting it sit on my radar. You know what I mean? So
that's the right attitude, man. But back to let's go back to the music now.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the NFT music about the apes in general, like any NFT project. But obviously the apes, they've got that whole commercial rights aspect of it. They've been bought, even down to the rappers. Obviously, they're buying the NFTs. I'm interested to see. I'm trying to work out what's actually happening. Like, my thing that I'm seeing is okay in the metaverse, alter egos. People when they enter the metaverse, they're going to go as their apes because the apes are so popular already. That's going to be the new celebrity of the metaverse, and you won't. DJ Khaled or Timbaland won't create an avatar for themselves. They'll just go as the ape, and everyone will know that's Timbaland. You know what I mean? Right. That's what I see happening. But what's your thoughts?
No, yeah, you're right, man. And that's already kind of what happened with I don't remember the name of what they called their thing. But yeah, Timbaland, I was in the Twitter space that they had when he was talking about how he saw his let me get some water really quick. My mouth is super dry. When he saw his he said he saw his ape, he's like, yeah, I like the gold chain. That really resonated with me. So, and even, Eminem, the ape that Eminem got, it
looked like him.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like that. It's like they made that one for him, But yeah, man, like that's definitely what the new flex is about to me. I even saw a video, a little baby, he walks around with the big bags of cash all the time. He's all like, yeah, man. He's like, I'm not about to be carrying this cash around anymore. I'm just about to get crypto.
Yes, in it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So this stuff's already happened. You got Post Malone buying the ape in the video with The Weeknd, like this, and them putting, the NFTs on the chains. Like you can, if you got a crypto punk, that's like 20 mil, and a Bored Ape that's like 3 mil, you could flex, over 20 million on 2 chains, and that's, hey, you got more than, some people have like in their whole lives right there.
And then the thing is, they can take it. Because I'm not encouraging it, but you can get robbed, and you still can have the NFT.
Right? Exactly. Like that's right. So I think with rapping. Or not with rapping, but with, I guess, like the whole, like, commercial rap culture, like the flexing is part of it. Like, gotta flex, like, dude, like I got a freaking gold drum machine. So like, I'm in it. Like I do it too. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, and the NFTs, they're the perfect, tool to flex with, and it's kind of got that little upper echelon of society flavor to it, but it's got that intellectual side to it as well, where it's like, you got to know how to do this to get it. You got to play smart to get this. You know what I mean? It's not just like any dummy can, like, get a bunch of money and just be like, hey, here's a ton of money, but when you got an NFT on a freaking chain, that's like, people are gonna be like, how did you do that? Even the guys with the stacks of money are going to be like, how did you do that? You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like a super dope nerd flex in a way. You know what I'm saying? So, like that's, and that's already, what's happening right now, which I think is cool because a lot of us musicians, we're nerds, man. Like we love sci-fi, we love comics, we love all that goofy stuff that people used to make fun of us for. But hey, now we can flex. Now we can be like, hey, I watch anime. Like, what of it? Like, I got a gold like Goku. You know what I'm saying, or something like that. You know, so
it's true. So talk to me about NFTs and music as we talk. Obviously, we talked about the PFPs and what's going on there, but the industry in regards to let's talk from your side of it. You do the beat making and whatnot. So, how do you think things are going to change moving forward to how it is now to applying NFTs in the industry to what people could take advantage of? So, as whether it's a beat maker, as vocalists, or a band, what kind of things they could just give them a few ideas of what kind of things they can do?
Yeah, good question, man. So honestly, one of the big things is, you don't necessarily need a record label anymore. That's like the big thing. Granted, I do want to point out that NFTs aren't, the end all be all at the moment, but you can do a lot with just NFTs. Like I mentioned before, when I attached the demo of my record to the drummy, I think I made like about $1,200 off of that whole drop. You know what I mean? Like whatever. But at the same time, man, you know how many streams it takes for you to get $1,200? Like a lot.
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying? And think about the hustle you got to do to get that. So if you're a beat maker, if you're, whatever, a musician, like say like you're making beats, doing session work like I was, last year or the year before last year, you could tokenize your time. You could tokenize like, hey, you want to book me? Buy my token. I'll come work for you for an hour, and after that, token's burn. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. That's something to do. And now people could buy your token, hold on to it, be like, yo, like I got a Godcloud feature that I could cash in when I need it. You know what I'm saying? And they have it. They don't have to use it right away, but they have it, so they know like, hey, like as long as I'm around, I can fulfill that. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that beat makers could do. You could, tokenize your stems. I know my buddy Sam F, who's worked on I think it was called like Tiny Island, like with Saturday Night Live and all that stuff. He's big time. He did I think he did a Bored Ape song as well. But he's working on a project on Solana where the stems that he's put into a project, he's collecting royalties off of that, gets it instantly. There's a lot you can do within this space. And something also too that I tell people coming in is collaborate with a visual artist. Come into the space, just make some friends. Don't try to sell anything. Make some friends and try to collaborate with some visual artists. Like I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of collabs with Ali Sabet, and we've got one up right now that's in the LA Art Show that I did the music on. We got some that's exclusive on voice.com that I did the music for, and that's huge. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a big flex for me. Sabet, he's a monster. You know what I mean? Like a good monster. Like not calling you monster Sabet if you watch it. Sabet's my bro. So it's dope to get that connection, and that's just something else to show. Like, hey, look at like it's possible for musicians to get in this space and thrive and do things and and work with other people in the space.
One thing to add to that, Clive, to add that I feel that is important for as a musician or creators in general is a lot of the times people don't want to collaborate down to they not knowing the person, the trust, making money in the future. So with NFTs, I think it takes away that whole, am I going to get paid if I work with you? Like there's probably been situations where beat makers, not so famous, have worked with high profile individuals and they've taken their beats and they haven't paid them and they can't say nothing. But with this, you're able to, whoever it is, it's all proof in the pudding. You're able to get your share and not worry about that. And it will always trace back to you, and it's transparent. I think that's so important. That it hasn't been there, whether you're doing a deal in music or with art or with real estate, anything. Like the trust barrier is down. Once people understand that, I feel that's where it's really going to really take off.
Yeah, and there's still some barriers like in between, the publishing and everything with music, all that stuff. But at the same time, if you just do like a regular contract before you work with somebody, then you put the blockchain aspect on it as well, that's just extra leverage, and it really opens up a lot too when you see that you can. Okay, so I was listening to Rick Ross talk, right? And he was saying when he was signed to a major label, it was a lot of fluff. It was a lot of, people just with their hands in this pie, you know what I'm saying? But when you are in the NFT space, you can decide who's around you. You are, because here, everyone's here, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's here, just like with the Drummies project, man. Like I didn't have to go far to find an artist. I called JJ Weinberg. I'm like, hey, bro, I need help with this. You got me. And that's my bro. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, okay, sure. He's like, yeah, draw some stuff before you, whatever. Now let's say I'm signed to a label. I'm like, hey, I have to go to my manager. Like, I got this idea. Manager then has to go to whoever else. Now I'm not in contact with the artist. I'm hoping my manager is doing all this stuff and I'm just sitting here waiting. He goes and does whatever. Probably tell the artist, hey, you're going to do this for this person who signed to these people. We're not going to pay you, but you're going to get exposure, So now, there's all these degrees of separation. There's no connection. I might get the art done, but what about in the future? Now the artist gets nothing, and now I gotta, give my manager a cut for even going and doing that little bit. You know what I'm saying? So now all that stuff's done. Now it's just me and JJ. We talk and we're like, hey, okay, cool, this done. All right, cool, boom, let's go. Now I'm the boss in this situation. And if he needs music for something, he's gonna hit me up. And now he's the boss. You know what I'm saying? So we're all able to be our own, bosses. And that's what, when I was listening to Rick Ross talk about that, he's like, right now, if you're independent, you're your own boss. He's like, and you make your team around you. And he's like, you get a few go-getters around you, y'all can move fast. Y'all can go to the moon. You don't got to wait for a green light from upstairs. You know what I mean?
Disclaimer, Godcloud, I want to say, I don't want to get people who can, not everyone wants to be a boss in it. So not everyone, okay, we don't need a music label, but not everyone knows how to market. So if you can't market your music, you can't be seen, then it's pointless doing NFTs. So I think we got to also tell people look, if you're willing to take that independent route, which is going to give you high rewards, you have to put the work in still. You're not just going to create a music NFT and it's going to sell just because it's an NFT. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And that's another thing too. People talk about we're getting rid of the middlemen. We're getting rid of the middlemen. It's like, let's get rid of the shady middlemen, I still get paid to help market projects, but I do it in a genuine way, and I do it in a way that people trust me and, people come back, people hit me up, they're like, hey, can you help with this? I'm like, yeah, I got you. I'll do this, I'll do that. I send them screenshots of what I'm doing, how it's working, and they trust that, if you're going to come into the space, it's not, and I'm about to tell them now, if you're going to come into the space, it's not easy. You have to be working 24/7, but you're going to be working for yourself. Find a good team of people to work with you. Get a marketer. And, hold on, I got this thing that just popped up. Get a marketer, promise them a part of the cut of the mint. Don't pay them up front. Promise them a cut of the mint so they work hard for you. You all work together and they're going to have, interest in it like you. You're both going to have that vested interest in the project. Come in like that, and that's your team. And you all work your fingers down to the bone. Don't overshill, and just come in and do the work. Be honest, do the work. And this is the other thing I tell people too, and I kind of touched on it earlier, but don't come in trying to sell right away. Just make some friends. Just come in and try to make 10 friends. Just do that. Just be like, I want to find 10 people I connect with. Do that, and that's gonna be the start of your journey. And trust me, something you're gonna be rewarded for being honest, being genuine, being yourself.
No, I definitely agree with that. Another thing I want to add to is this. Like, just as you were speaking, I was kind of thinking of, for artists, if you're a new artist and if a beat maker, obviously everyone starts from somewhere. Now, if a beat maker's kind of getting his break and he's done a beat for Jay-Z and he's done a beat for Drake, and this is all done on the blockchain, and you're able to track who makes what beats, you can get somebody to work with at an early stage rather than waiting till they're at the top of their career when obviously everyone started endorsing them and they're working with everybody else. You can get them at the same time as these high profile artists because you're able to track them down via their work. Whereas I'm not sure if that's as easy as now in real life. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's just a thought.
Yeah, man. So, all right. So if you're doing work, like it was back in the day, it would be tough to try to, like if you hear a dope beat, you really got to do some digging. You know what I'm saying? But again, just like you said it, man, with the blockchain, you can check. You can see like, okay, who sold what to who, which wallet did it come from? Okay, and generally, their wallet name will be either like their same name on Twitter or something like that. You can find them, so yeah, man, it's definitely going to make it a lot easier to find people who've worked with other people and potentially, connect and all that stuff too. So yeah, man, the blockchain's beautiful for that. It's wild how, like, it's funny because in the beginning when I saw it, I'm like, man, like I don't want people looking into my stuff. But at the same time, it's like, well, like I'm not doing anything. So, as long as you're not being sketchy, then you don't get anything.
You're good.
You know what I'm saying? You should be good, but the way that all this stuff works is if you are being sketchy, we'll sniff you out. You know what I mean? Like what happened with the guy from OpenSea, like he got.
And even like the big influencer recently of the talks, what he was doing.
Yeah, I still don't. I haven't. I've been working, so I missed all the stuff that happened with that. I don't know exactly the details.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to start naming names and that. And if you know, kind of thing. But obviously, that he basically he was creating lots of different accounts, like basically boosting up himself, self-promoting, and basically just creating an image and pumping projects. And it wasn't really ethical. Wasn't really good what he was doing. But then eventually it came to light. You know what I mean? And this is a very big name in the space, in the community. So like I think people are out there, man. Like, and there are people who do their digging if they think something's up. So just be like you said, just be true, have good intentions, go out there, do your work. And I feel that at this point, it's a great opportunity for whatever you're doing. And even if it's when people enter the space, everyone focuses on money at this point, I feel. Whereas I think like just if you've got a skill, you're creative and you can offer something, just focus and seeing what you can do and how you can apply NFTs to what you're doing at this point. That's the best advice that I would give to anybody. I mean, what advice would you give to somebody that is entering the space, whether it's a musician or something? What approach should they take?
Yeah, man, like I said about the try to make some friends first off. Just listen, don't try to sell off the bat, and the big thing that I always tell people to do is to find your way in which you can uniquely add value to the community. Like once you figured that out, that's what I did. Like not a lot of people back then knew that you could mint for free on Mintable, because everybody, and then the whole reason why I was doing that was because there were restrictions in New York at the time. I couldn't buy crypto. I couldn't buy crypto to pay the little wallet initialization fee on OpenSea. Everybody's like, oh, just mint on OpenSea. I'm like, I can't. I just can't, but when I figured out how to do it on Mintable, I did that. I made my first $300 in Ethereum.
Yeah.
And I just took that and turned it into everything else that that's going on now. You know what I mean? Like that $300 is, it's a laptop now. It's a couple drum machines, now, and and more things too. But it's I came in, I found like some good info, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to bring to the table. This is how I'm going to uniquely add value. I'm going to teach people how to do this and make sure that they got it. I'm going to do it in a manner that they can understand. I'm not going to talk over their heads. I'm not going to use any of this jargon. Like when I talk about like consensus protocols, I'm like, it's truth machine. So they get it. They're like, oh, okay. So a consensus protocol is a truth machine. Yes. Yeah. Basically making sure everybody agrees on
the rules of the blockchain and whatnot. Yeah. Right. But that's this. I think that's also important. Is just breaking down things to people, because like I said, that's nothing that holds people back when they don't understand. But like I said, you've been doing this for a long time, education wise. Me with NFT Talks, there's other people coming up, and it's people that are in the community kind of like safeguarding and trying to guide people the right way. I think that's so important, because I feel like I've always said that when people enter the space, they can have two experiences, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. It's so early. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. I mean, up to this, I've made so many mistakes myself. You know what I mean? Like I remember when I sold I sold an NFT and made some ETH, and then I was trying to send an NFT to a friend of mine, and it wasn't going through on OpenSea. It just wasn't going to him. He wasn't receiving it. So I kept clicking. And then I got charged around like just trying to send something for free at like $250 of gas fees, because all the it went through and it took the gas fees each time. So that's a lesson learned, but you don't know that until you do it. You know what I mean? So there's so many things that can go wrong. So people like yourself that are great, great people in the community can offer information, and it's just needed. So just thanking you, like you've helped me in different ways, connect with different people. I'm saying, and that's what we need to do as a community, keep helping each other.
Right. Yeah, man, dude, I'm glad, that I could help in any way. You know what I mean? Like that's what like I feel like if I can help folks, then it'll come around. You know what I mean? Like like Chris Cafaro, right? I helped him with some NFT stuff, and he's like, listen, man, I got a photo shoot for you whenever you want it. Came out to LA, got the photo shoot. And I was like, bro, like whatever you need now, let me know, and that's when I was like, hey, you need a platform to talk about your stuff. Hey, like my brother Sinclair, he's got the podcast, so boom. And this is what, this is the ecosystem. This is us. This is us building it, because if the better we all get, man, it's just the stronger the system's going to be. You know what I mean? Like I'd love for the day that, I'm like, yo, like Senka, my yacht's busted. Can I borrow yours? And you're like, yeah, man, just take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm hoping for, man. Like, that's why I do it. That's why I help everybody. That's why I try to lift everybody up, just because I know one day I might need it. We're all human, stuff happens. And if I can get everybody around me strong, then hey, boom, if I fall down, it can pull me right up. We won't let each other fail here. That's the thing, and that's what I love about this space.
So to round it off, how do you see the world, your world, in the next, say, 10 years with NFT? So like, I want you to create a morning. I always do this at the end of the podcast. I want you to create a morning, explain to me how you wake up, where is NFTs, where are you using NFTs, whether it's in metaverse, so you go into the metaverse, whether it's music, whether it's traveling, where do you see things like, so waking up in the morning, first thing in the morning, you wake up, and then what? How does your morning look?
Then I'm probably gonna, check my MetaMask, honestly, because that's what I do anyway. So I don't think that's gonna change. But yeah, man, like I hope that I really want to start doing more shows. I hope that this COVID business is over, and I want to just start performing. Maybe doing some NFT like live performances or something like that, and maybe even having it crossed with some augmented reality stuff and doing, oh man, 10 years. I thought you were going to say 1 year. I can't even call it for the next year.
That's why.
Crazy.
No, but I'm not asking you to call it. I'm asking you to create. How would you visualize it? So by doing this, is that we're tapping into like you've obviously been in the space, so you're open minded to things happening. Like I want to tap into your mind and think what's possible. Like where do you think things can go? Like you could say, I've had some guests say, look, I wake up, I don't even leave the house, I put on my VR goggles, I go to my first meeting there in the metaverse and so on, and then I travel here and I go to my shoppings and it's NFTs and all sorts of madness. So like that's why I always ask that question to see what people are thinking, like where their thoughts.
No, for sure. No, I hear you, man. And I'm just, how I'm seeing it, maybe even how I'm wishing, man, is, kind of like a combination of real world and the augmented stuff. Like, hey, let's say I got a meeting.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go to the coffee shop. And if the person who I'm meeting with, they're not there, they can just be there as a hologram, sitting across from me. And I don't even need the goggles at this point because the tech is just there.
Yeah, but won't that piss you off though? Won't that piss you off? You've got out of bed to go to the coffee shop and he's turned up with his hologram.
No, hey man, hey, I want to get out, man. Like I want to move around and do stuff, you know what I mean? But how cool would it be if it's like, hey, like certain coffee shops or like Starbucks supports like augmented reality meetings.
Yeah.
You go sit at a booth in the Starbucks, they sit at like the sister booth at the other Starbucks across the world. Now I'm dreaming of some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's what we want, man. That's dope. Yeah, that's dope.
Wouldn't that be sick? Does this Starbucks have the augmented meetings? Like, we gotta go across town to that one to the augmented meeting. We're like, okay, let's go. And the ones at McDonald's won't work right because their ice cream machine don't work. So the McDonald's ones aren't gonna work right, but they're gonna beam in somebody else.
It's a stranger.
Yeah.
I hear that. But I look at that's cool, man. That would be dope to do something like that. Like, actual booths that you can go to, and you just go to the sister version. And you're sitting there, and you kind of just chime in augmented reality style or holographic.
Yeah, they do. And I'm seeing real estate getting into it as well. I got a really wild metaverse real estate business venture that I'm cooking up that I can't talk about yet, but it's gonna be freaking crazy, man. And there's nothing else like it right now. And I got lucky and got the domain for it, and I was like, wow, like nobody bought this domain. I'm like, okay, hey, so I'm gonna develop that, and I hope that within 10 years that could be something too, where I can't even describe it, but it's but no, I can tell you a little bit about it afterwards, but it's something dope. It's something really, really fucking cool. But yeah, man, and who knows what's gonna be going on in the next 10 years, but yeah, what I want is I like to get out. I like to be out in the world, like the headset is cool and everything, but I don't know if you ever watched Dragon Ball Z, when they have the little scouter things on their eye.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I want something like that to like be, some shit. Like I want to be able to like boop that and like have like the stats of whatever pop up, or like just if my kid's sick, hit that, be like, okay, like let's she's got bronchitis, okay, boom, like all right, like whatever, like just that would be so dope too. Or if it's like, all right, like I want to be at the beach, like let me click the scouter and it, now I'm at the beach, you know what I mean? But or like, oh man, it's cloudy out, like I want it to be sunny, like let me hit that, and now it's now the weather looks different to me. Like I want the combination of being outside with the augmented stuff. I think that would be wild, being able to drop in the concerts and all that. Like, sorry, I'm just rambling about.
No,
like,
that's it. Like I love that, man. I like to tap into people's minds and for them just to run wild and talk about all these different things, because that's what we need. I think that's the child in you, and that's the child in you. You start running away with your imagination and saying like, why can't this happen? Why can't that happen? And 10 years ago, we could have been saying the exact same all these things, and people are like, what the hell? Like, that ain't going to happen, but it is. So who's to say that ain't going to happen in the next 10 years? I don't put any limit on anything. For what I've seen in the last 2 years happening is crazy. So
it really is, man. Like my 1 year in the NFT space has been insane. I'm really curious to see how, the next year is going to be, because I made a recap video of all my stuff, right?
Yeah.
And at the top of the year, I had got this write-up in the local paper about, my music and everything. And that was the start of it. Like this year, I got interviewed on the big radio station in town. You know what I'm saying? And now, me and the host of that show, we're going to talk about doing some things, and it's wild how each year it's just progressing. And it's like, dude, like maybe halfway through this year, I'm going to get interviewed on like CNN or something, like
put it, yeah,
stuff's going, like,
well, look, it's been a pleasure speaking to you today, man. Like, so much value, like, especially in the music side. I think we covered so much different areas and how you can take advantage. So anyone creative, especially musically, I think they're going to take so much value from this, man. But where can people find you, Godcloud?
You can find me at godcloud.org. I have my other NFT site, but I'm revamping that right now.
Okay.
You can find me godcloud.org. That's where all my music stuff is, my sample packs. If you want to make beats like Godcloud, go there, grab those tools. I'm the real Godcloud on Twitter and IG, Godcloud Music on Facebook. I know I just said the F word, but if anybody wants to visit me there, I'm there as well. So yeah, I hope to see some of the viewers come hang out over on my channels as well, yo.
Thanks, man. Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching. Everyone stay listening, stay blessed.